Welcome everyone to our episode 84 of our section Drops of Wisdom. In today's episode, we are going to reflect about emotions and how can we use our emotions to grow, to expand, to really understand certain aspects of our life that can make us feel much better, learn from our mistakes and recognize that many times our emotions are just a product of an evolution system. They are being reflected from our ancestors, and they were used by our ancestors, but now we can find different ways to express them, and some of them are not or should not be used in the same way as they used to in the past. So that's the title of our episode: How to Decode Our Emotions to Grow, to Expand. And the first reflection that we should do is: how have you felt about your emotions? Have you ever felt overwhelmed and really don't know what is happening? The key to this emotional well being lies in acknowledging our feelings and finding healthy outlets for them, trying to move that emotion with the help of activities of our body, whether it is through exercise, through creative activities, or simply taking it out, expressing it, releasing emotional tension helps us to stay balanced and resilient, and taking charge or being responsible of your emotional health today and not letting build up or overwhelm to frustrate you and to start giving you physical symptoms. So let's go with the ideas that I want to share with you so that you can decode your emotions and understand them much better. The key idea one is understanding the evolutionary role of your emotions. Reflect on the origin and purpose of each of your emotions. And that means that, just like this image, that I love it because it really demonstrates how the emotions have a root cause and how each of the emotions can give rise to the positive side or to the negative side, which is represented here in the tree and the branches, and how each of the ending of the branch represent a more specific or complicated or tailored emotion that you have been fine tuning through what you are expressing and what you are feeling and the situations that you are living in your life. So, for example, in this tree, you can start analyzing the emotion of first from the root, it's arousal. And arousal means this excitement. In the positive side, it gives opportunity and promotion of this excitement, and that can generate in an upper level a desire that can be either physical or material. And then it can be modified to represent a physical pleasure. That is just the explanation of one positive emotion that was uh, originated from arousal. And from that same arousal, you can arrive to desire and generate another kind of emotion that is hope. From hope, you can manifest hope through acquiring certain pleasure, or to find in a more primitive way, let's say, a reproduction purpose and finding a couple, finding a mate. And from finding a mate, you start modifying that emotion, you start making it more tailored to what you are feeling, and you generate love. If from that primitive emotion of reproduction, you find people that are just matching to your values, to what you think, to how you feel, and you find that connection with certain people that is also sensed and perceived and felt as a friendship. And that friendship of kin generates another type of love that is loving a friend, that is loving a person that is not your mate, but is a person that you really have a lot of affection for, and you worry about her and you care about her and all of the other things. So, this is how you can start making or understanding the evolution of an emotion. What is the role? What is the purpose of certain emotions? And in the negative side, if we analyze that part from the same arousal, in the right side, we have threat, we have prevention, we have apprehension. And look here how prevention it's under the parentheses. And that represents that arousal and fear doesn't have to be negative all the time. That means that it can prevent you from doing something that is dangerous or from pain or from damaging yourself. So, from fear, you generate damage, and from that damage, you can, of course, uh, experience pain. From that same fear, if you have a loss of someone, you generate or you tailor or you modify that emotion into sadness. And like that, in the negative side of the reproduction emotion of fear and anxiety, when you find a mate and you use fear and anxiety, it gives rise to jealousy, grief, of course, of losing someone, in spite of not losing or despite of losing that person. You are generating that grief in your mind when you use that emotion in the negative side. Also, when you lose a friend, that this can mean that you suddenly don't match with certain people, and probably in the past you really appreciated that person and you are sad because you lost that friendship, but you realize that that loss of that friendship have a purpose. And the purpose is that you no longer match with the values and with the emotions of that person, with the way that person is behaving in his or her life. So that's how we can use the evolution of our emotions. What is the action that we can apply to make this easier? The next time you experience an emotion, you can pause and you can consider what is the evolutionary roots. How is this emotion making me feel? Why might this emotion have been important, for example, for my parents, for my grandparents, etc., from my ancestors? It can be all the way back to the primitive tribal uh, purpose of the emotion, like fear. Fear, the purpose in the most primitive side is to protect you from threats, to prevent damage. That is the most primitive side of fear. So it is not negative because it is there to prevent something. And this reflection can help you understand the fundamental purpose of the emotion, such as this fear, prompting you to be cautious, or joy, encouraging you and motivating you to have more social bonding or relate better with the people in your life. What is the key idea number 2 to decodify, to understand your emotions? Well, we have to be much more intelligent emotionally. We need to start understanding these pillars of emotion and using it as a tool to grow, develop these emotional intelligence skills. We can all develop these skills. We can all understand much better these pillars. And this is a concept that was deeper developed by Daniel Goleman, and he explained that there are 5 pillars to this emotional intelligence. The first one is self awareness. Self awareness means being conscious of what you are feeling, of what you are doing, of what you are saying, of what you are thinking. So, this is extremely important to understand the sequence that is going to continue. Motivation is the next pillar or the next sequence in this emotional intelligence diagram. Motivation means using that energy of certain emotions to help you grow, to help you be more accurate in the actions that you are performing, to respond better. Empathy is the next pillar, and that means being more compassionate to understand other people's journey, to understand the context where they grew up, want to understand the context of how their parents treated them and how or why they develop certain behaviors and why are sometimes predisposed to certain things, or why they are more anxious or fearful, or they have low self-esteem, etc. That empathy doesn't mean justifying what a toxic behavior is or use it as a manipulation and making the person a victim. It is not, any one of us is a victim, unless, of course, you decide to be the victim. And that is also a choice. The next pillar of this emotional intelligence is social skills. And this has to do with choosing the right people in your life, choosing how to relate with this kind of person, using your values, using the way you think, using the way you feel also, and how you want to experience growth, that you are going to use to pick the people around you. So this is extremely important because this is giving you a very important part of your life, which is the environment, the social environment that you are being surrounded with. And this has to be also with the concept that we acquire certain reactions, emotions, and behaviors from the 5 people we are more close to. So be careful with the kind of people that you choose to be more around you and analyze more the kind of behavior of these kind of people. Next, self-regulation. That's the final pillar in this diagram of emotional intelligence, and that's the most complicated, of course. Self-regulation means to understand everything that you have passed through since the origin of the emotion to the purpose, to the meaning, to how you come into awareness of how you are also responding and modulating your response each time better. And this requires patience, patience to make mistakes, to fail multiple times, of course, but to be more responsible of how you react, of how you are feeling. Self regulation also means making yourself responsible for the origin of how you are feeling and not blaming other people for how you feel. Emotional intelligence helps you grow. Practicing self awareness regularly, checking with your emotions, journaling can be a great way to identify and understand your emotional patterns. Additionally, working on empathy by actively listening to others and considering how they are feeling, and sometimes, if they give you that context, why they are feeling like that, this can improve these social interactions and also help you to be more emotionally regulated and help you to pick the friendships, the people that surround you much better. What is the key idea number three? Well, is our emotions as motivators, emotions as a drive to generate positive actions. And that means sometimes there are some uh, primal emotions that are really not accessible to us. And many of those, that level one of emotions that is depicted here, reflects on the autonomic nervous system. And these are functions that are constantly in our body, such as the endocrine system, which is liberating hormones, liberating neurotransmitters that are constantly being uh, delivered into certain targets in our body, in our cells, and they generate a response. Your immune system also is regulated by this autonomic nervous system, and those responses is the level one. They are not accessible under um, normal way of being, but they are accessible under consciousness, under meditating, under controlling more your mind. Under that aspect, you can even get to this level of controlling those emotions. And that's why this is extremely important. That's what these uh, meditation levels take you to be able to control those kind of emotions, how you want to liberate your body, how you want your body to feel, how you want your immune system to respond. So we have control over those emotions when we are more aware and we practice more these meditative states. The level two, emotion number two, or emotion level two, that is expressing in your face, this displaying your emotion, that people can be in the posture, in your face, in pheromones. And look at this word here. These pheromones, this is a chemical substance that you are already liberating, and this is traveling through the sense of smell. People can perceive that you are fearful. Bees, dogs, many insects, even plants perceive these kind of pheromones, these kind of substances. And all of this is being um, transmitted. Sometimes, if it's negative, you infect other people with these kind of emotions if they are negative, and they are accessible to others. That's the most important part here, because when you get to this level two and you depict your emotion in your face or your behavior, or these pheromones, people feel them also. People can perceive them, and you are spreading certain emotions. This is how we need to be educated, that we can control the expression of these emotions if we regulate better, if we learn to cope with them in another way, which is engaging our bodies and using our bodies to release that emotion. And I will talk in the next point about that. But these emotions have been already released to other people, and that people is going to reflect back to you. Look at this part, because this is the most important part of the diagram. People will reflect back your emotions, and that will allow you to perceive how you are behaving and how you first sometimes you first experience that emotion, how you really liberated that emotion, and that made you or that allow other people to generate that emotion. And that will give you a signal either to inhibit that emotion if it's a negative one, or to understand better, to regulate, and to express it more if it's positive, of course. Emotion level three means this subjective experience of feelings and desire. And this is something that you feel, that is accessible to your inner self, to your whole body. You are feeling this emotion, you are respecting how this experience is, you are translating the emotion into a feeling, and you are using already the social feedback that the level two gave you. So this is how sometimes, if it was a really negative emotion, you can reflect on what you did to the other person. And then after a little bit, of course, that you already probably damaged the person. But if it was not so bad, if it was not permissive, that action, you have the opportunity to reflect. You have the opportunity to be responsible and to ask for forgiveness and to be humble and to recognize that it was your unregulated emotions that caused the damage. So, identify what emotions are motivating you at any given time. If you feel anxious, ask why. Make it a task. Recognize that this anxiety is pushing you probably to prepare better. Is giving you that prevention. Use this awareness to channel your emotions into productive activities, not just justify the emotion. Don't just stay in this in sedentary state or a pathetic state of not doing anything. Like preparing, for example, when this anxiety or fear you feel, that means you need to be prepared more. Preparing thoroughly for a presentation, for a meeting, for something, for speaking in public, those can be good. Using that as excitement to fuel your creativity or to prepare better. This anxiety or fear, sometimes when you are going to compete, this make you feel better and express better and make a much better performance in the competition. So it is not bad to feel anxiety sometimes or fear. Number four, what is the connection with your body? How are emotions and organs connected according to traditional Chinese medicine, to the meridians in your body, to all of these connections that we have with each of the organs? And here I just give five simple examples, but there are a lot more emotions that will be expressed in your organs if you don't let them flow, if you don't allow them to move through your body. So, sadness and grief, for example, affect the lungs. Anger affects the liver. That's why people tell you don't get angry so often or by everything because your liver is going to be affected. Fear. Fear is represented in your kidneys. Worry is represented or affects the spleen, and joy is uh, being felt by your heart. Look at here, and we are going to analyze a little bit more worry. Worry and the spleen. The spleen is related to your immune system. When you are in a fearful state, when you are too much time worried, you are lowering your immune system. You are being uh, predisposed to be more um, prone to be infected by any kind of viruses, any kind of disease, any kind of bacteria, any kind of uh, negative emotion also. That's why this emotion of worry or fear is used a lot by media to manipulate you. So, number five, this is the most complex and this is the most important one because this is how to regulate cognitive appraisal for emotional regulation. And that means learning, detaching from the emotion, seeing the steps that you need to realize to apply this in your life when you are facing emotional situations and do it with more consciousness. And through these steps that I am going to list, you are going to be able to regulate much better. So the first step when you are feeling these kinds of any kind of emotion is focus on the situation and acknowledge your emotional response. How you are feeling. What is the situation? And acknowledge how you feel. Assessment. Assess the environment, consider the likelihood of different outcomes and how they affect you. If you don't like any kind of place and you need to stay in that place for certain period of time, what can you do if you modify your stay in that place? If you listen to something, if you read, if you go and look for other people, if you are feeling not well with the kind of people that is around you, for example, in a party or in a family reunion, you can just go and speak with other person. You can just go and listen to something. You can just go for a little while outside and give a short walk and return. All of these things are different solutions that you can look for and that will have a much better outcome. Number three, control. Think about the aspects of the situation that you can control. In each of these interactions that you are having, in each of the things that happen in your life, you can have some control sometimes, and in other situations, you don't have a choice. And if you don't have a choice, well, you can just release also the control and tolerate for a while what you have to experience. Comfort. Evaluate your initial emotional reaction and the intensity. How do you feel better with the reaction that you are having? And how you make better the intensity of how you are reacting to certain things. Obstacles. That's the fifth step to analyze the situation, to look for the obstacles, to identify any perceived challenges or obstacles that you might face. And this comes with the preparation for the situations. If you know that you are going to be to a party, to a reunion with your family, and you know that there are certain people that you don't tolerate too much time, well, look for a solution for this challenge. You have to go to this reunion, to this gathering, but you don't need to stay 4, 5, 6 hours. Probably you can just stay 2 hours and that's it. Probably you will talk about certain topics that make the interaction better, etc. Six, responsibility. Reflect on who or what is responsible for the event. Remember that no one can make you feel the way they want unless you give them freedom to do that, unless you quit to your ability to respond. Justification. Consider the fairness of the situation. Consider why these people reacted that way. Consider this is where you apply empathy. And this doesn't have to be confused with uh, victimhood, with making the other people not responsible also for what they are doing. Effort, assess the effort that requires to manage the situation. And the most important thing to make this system much easier is systematically analyzing your emotions with these kind of steps and focus on this attentional deployment, making your attention really concentrated in what is happening. Cognitive change, reappraisal, this means how you see yourself from outside and why are you feeling in a certain way, and regulate the response with this image from outside. So using this kind of detaching from the situation to really making it better and to change, to become more experienced to respond to certain actions. And that is what is going to modulate your response. Reappraisal again of the situation. And that is going to modify the situation, because the next time that you approach a similar situation, you already know, you already pay attention, you already observe the things that happen, and the next time you will change to the situation. Let's take the example of this party with your family, and you know that there are certain family members that are going to make you feel not great, or they are really toxic sometimes. So just remember that you can say, well, I'm just going to go to this um, party or this reunion for 2 hours. That's it. That's your modifying of the situation. That's the cognitive change. You have learned to go just for a little while, interact, talk a little bit, goodbye, and that's it. Or you know that you can talk about topics that are easier to talk about and avoid certain topics that you know that are going to make the situation more difficult. So that's is giving you experience on how you respond. Also, know how you feel and recognize when you are feeling negative, and just step away a little bit. Go and give a short walk, go to the bathroom and breathe. Do something that makes you disconnect from those kind of situations. So, in summary, what do we have to do to understand and decodify our emotions much better? Reflect on the evolutionary roots of the emotion. What is the origin? Is it my emotion, or is it an emotion that I have been experiencing due to my parents, due to my ancestors, due to everything I have witnessed in my life? Understand the purpose of the emotion. What is the meaning and the purpose of the emotion? Develop more emotional intelligence, practice self awareness, empathy, improve your emotional intelligence, improve the regulation and response, improve this diagram, making it faster and making it better to be more productive in your life. Use emotions as motivators to grow. Channel your emotions into positive actions. Connect emotionally and physically. This is how you connect your body. Remember that your body is also experiencing the emotion. And remember that through exercise, through yoga, through meditation, through journaling, you can release those emotions, engage your mind and body, practice to manage and understand each of the emotions. Use also All those kinds of activities to allow you to cope with the emotions and apply cognitive appraisal. Make this a task to learn more about yourself, to learn more about others. Use a structured approach to analyze and regulate your emotions and to understand the different context that you don't tolerate sometimes, or that you are not in the best mood to go to certain things or to do certain things, and implement these boundaries. Also, this is extremely important to know your boundaries, to know when you are not feeling good, to know to express that you are not feeling good, and that will make your life much easier, and that will allow you to take much better decisions, much better relationships, and much better well being for you and how you feel. Thank you very much for listening, for reflecting with me. And as you know, I always encourage you to give me your reactions, your comments, your likes, your dislikes, and also to subscribe to the channels that I have in YouTube, I have in Spotify, in Apple Podcast, etc. Thank you very much for listening and for being here. Have an amazing afternoon, and we will listen to each other next week. Bye.